Looks like it's going to work on our channel today.
Yay. Are we recording it?
We're going to record it too, yeah.
Woohoo.
All right, so here we are on our YouTube channel. Going live. I'm going to close this window here. And let's go ahead and record this. Okay, so here we are. We are the Love and Freedom Patriots, Gavin and Dagmar, talking today about poisons in America.
Hello, everybody.
So,
welcome back to our Saturday afternoon conversation.
yeah.
We just like to, we've created a platform for alternative subjects, and we're just talking from our experience. So that's all we're experts on, is our own personal life. So let's do this.
We're giving you our opinion, and like
Yep.
Gavin said, our experience. And so you can do your own research on whatever you don't believe.
Exactly. I've been doing this research for 30 years now, so it's your turn. You want validity to what I'm saying? It's out there. You can find it. Of course,
we're not doctors. We're not doctors. We're not here to advocate for doctors.
No.
But we will give you our opinion, which I think is a great opinion.
Weird, right? We happen to like our opinions. How funny.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and go through our little introduction first. So go ahead and, you know, Gavin, you want to introduce yourself? Tell us what you do.
Sure.
So
I'm Gavin Harrell. I'm from Chicago, Illinois. I've been in the field of psychology for the past 30 years, specializing in marriage and family counseling, spirituality, energetic healing, those types of things. And like I said, we just wanted to offer a platform where we could talk about things that mainstream news, mainstream media is not talking about.
Right. Awesome. Well, welcome, Gavin, today to our Love and Freedom Patriots video. And my name is Dagmar Oktapsova. I'm originally from the Czech Republic, from Prague is where I'm born. My parents with us kids escaped in 1969, 1 year after the communist invasion in Czech Republic. So I have a little bit of experience around communism and what that feels like. And I can tell you right now that America is becoming very communistic right now.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, that's aside from today's subject. I have been
That's
in
a different day, love. Different day.
Different day, yes. Communism in America, right?
Right.
So anyway, but I've been in the healing field for the past 15 plus years, and that is the spiritual healing field. I call my methodology to the madness Ariel quantum healing. Basically, it deals with any dysfunction in your life comes from unresolved pain in your spiritual field. And so I focus on healing the unresolved pain, including from your past lives. And yes. I find it to be extremely effective in resolving a lot of your issues, including relationship stuff, including self-sabotage, you know, confidence, including health stuff, you know, quite often. Right. There is a reason for why we disease, we express disease through our body and so forth. So yeah, so I deal with lots of different issues that I've basically helped people improve their lives, you know, over the course of the last 15 plus years. And I understand the vibration, how we manifest with our vibration, and how to shift our vibration in order to manifest what you actually want and things like that. I also teach on a lot of different subjects. Anyway, so I have a lot of accumulated wisdom. And a couple of the things I want to mention is that as far as detoxing, you know, the biggest toxins to our, well, there's two factors. One is there's toxins to our soul, and the biggest toxin to our soul is unresolved pain, okay? Then there's our body, and the biggest toxin to our body are chemicals that our body doesn't recognize that are not part of our chemical makeup. So in other words, synthetic chemicals, whether
So you're
it's
saying, so two things so far: toxins to the soul and toxins to the body, and
yes.
those happen to be synthetic, man-made chemicals,
Mhm.
basically poisons or toxins, right?
Right, exactly. You know, it can be in our medication, it can be, you know, preservatives, it could be pesticides, it could be all kinds of stuff, right?
GMO.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, stuff our body doesn't recognize, stuff that disrupts our body's normal ecosystem. You know, it's like we have a micro ecosystem in our body.
Right.
And some of these substances disrupt that, and then we don't function properly. And it's the same thing that happens on a soul level with unresolved pain. It disrupts our normal functionality. So all of a sudden we have these anomalies, you know, that things that don't function in our lives, and it's because of unresolved pain. So on a spiritual level, it works the same way as in the physical level. You see what I'm saying? There's
Absolutely.
a correlation.
Yeah.
But today we want to specifically talk about, you know, poisons in America, because like I say, I'm from the Czech Republic in Prague. And, you know, in my country, we all lived healthily back then, okay? We all grew nice fruits and vegetables and good stuff for you. And the way we cooked, it's all in the right combination so it can digest it properly. People were healthy, you know?
Yeah.
And so when I first came to America, I never thought to look at ingredients on your products, especially when I learned that we had something called the FDA that makes sure we are healthy, right?
Yeah.
And so as I learned much later, you know, a lot of the people on the board of the FDA are actually pharmaceutical guys that have a vested interest in us not being healthy.
Unfortunately, sad but true.
Yes. And so our entire food industry, our entire medical industry, all our industries are so toxic.
Yes.
And I think the United States is actually particularly the leader of all countries in such a toxicity. Okay. It's absolutely incredible.
Yes, I wholeheartedly agree. We are definitely leading in this
Yeah.
poisoning of the system.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's all in the name of our good, if you will, as everything is
for our
to be
health.
always for our health, right?
Yeah, all for our better good.
Yeah, so it's incredible, you know, what's happening, and it seems to be getting worse all the time.
Yes.
You know, the poisons, the medicines are getting stronger. They're getting more sophisticated. They're getting more difficult to move out of your body. I mean, it's all, you know, leveling up. Yes. The difficulty of the poisons that we are exposed to. They're absolutely determined to destroy humanity. And I don't understand, because they're human themselves, how that's supposed to work, right?
Or are they?
What?
I said, or are they?
I know. I don't get it on some level. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that's they've lost their humanity is my point. You know, I think they've really lost their humanity.
Right. Yeah, something like that, you know.
Yeah, there's no empathy, no compassion. It's all about greed, money, power, and control. And from my perspective,
yeah,
you know, so how could they do these things to us? Well, that's how. They don't care about us.
Right, right. And so I have been actually undergoing a recent detox, let's say over the course of the last year and a half. I guess as recent as it gets for me, it's detoxing things out of my body. But just to let you know how detox actually work, for those of you who haven't done major detox, you know, we run things out in sequence. So you may be running out one thing and, you know, you have certain symptoms, and then you get done with that, and then you're running out the next thing, okay? Right. And with each thing comes different symptoms. And what happens is that when it comes to chemicals, okay, when we consume things, say medicines, drugs, over-the-counter drugs, you know, pesticides, you know, when we get preservatives in the foods and whatever else have you.
Right.
The body doesn't get rid of it all. The residues of these chemicals actually get stored, some parts of them get stored up in your fatty tissues or in your tissues. And so you're actually accumulating this stuff, okay?
Yes, over your lifetime.
Over your lifetime, right? So you're actually getting more and more toxic as you go, all right?
Yeah.
And then also what happens is that when you now go work out, you go do some exercise, you can actually break off some piece of toxin and fat tissue, and it all of a sudden comes back into your bloodstream. And it's as if you injected that toxin into your bloodstream right now.
Right.
Okay?
Mm-hmm. So
And
in
you're
other words,
experiencing all the symptoms.
You're repoisoned by it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Because what happens, the reason the body stores it in the fat cells is because what happens, the body actually naturally, to protect itself, will draw out some of the toxins in your main system, in your main stream, bloodstream, into the fat cells. Your body will actually produce fat in order to extract toxins out of your main system.
Right.
And, you know, one of the things that I always wondered coming from Europe, because nowhere in the entire world, and I've traveled the world quite a bit, do you see obesity to such extreme as in the United States of America, okay? And I always wondered what happens to these people. Why do they get so freaking obese to this extreme level, right? And at some point, I thought it was the sugar, like so many people now talk about, right? Which I, discovered that like 30 years ago, I had that thought about sugar. Mm-hmm. But today I am convinced it's not the sugar. It is chemicals is what it is.
I agree. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so because I have, of course, have learned through the process of detoxing that you do produce fat in order to basically extract these chemicals out of your mainstream system, and the body stores it up in its fat cells.
Right. And so I want to just highlight, it's a catch-22. It's a vicious cycle right there, because you've got some excess fat that you're storing this stuff. You're trying to detox. Your body then produces more fat to help pull it out. So you're really staying stuck in this cycle. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you get to be a fat producing machine.
True.
That's what happened.
True. And well, the thing is that nobody's talking about it. Nobody's talking about the mechanics.
You know, Gavin, what gets me? All I hear talk about is, oh, we got to stop eating this food because this food's bad. You know, oh, tomatoes have too much leptin in them. And green peppers, nightshade vegetables are not good for you. You know, I get so mad at that because it has nothing to do with food.
Yes.
It has everything to do with the chemicals we put in it.
That's correct. All these preservatives and poisons. That's right.
Yes. It's about the poisons that you're eating in your foods. It's not the foods themselves. Okay.
Yeah. And or the genetically engineered foods, you know, that are just.
Well, yeah, all that bunch of crap then too. Yes. But the natural foods are good for you. They're supposed to be good for you. There's nothing wrong with tomatoes and their leptin or whatever the heck they have.
Right.
And I get so angry at it. And it's the same with gluten. Oh, bread has too much gluten. No, you know what bread has? A ton of preservatives.
That's right. That's the problem.
And the pesticides they spray on the flour, the wheat and all that stuff.
That's
you know, or whatever they put in the stuff. That's the problem, not the gluten. The gluten gets associated in your mind with all these toxins, and then your body responds as if it was a toxin. All of it. Okay.
Yeah. Well, so, it's just like with the butter and margarine of the past couple decades. They told us eat the butter because it's natural. And then they said, no, butter's bad. Go to the margarine. Well, of course, they steered us to the margarine, which is all even worse than butter because it's all synthetic.
Totally worse than butter, but butter was never bad. Okay?
Right.
There's nothing wrong with butter. Butter's actually good for you.
Natural butter. It is.
Right, except for with the hormones that pump the cows with and whatever else, right? Then it becomes bad.
Right.
So
save those.
It depends on how you raise your food. Absolutely, you know, all that makes a difference as well. But the point is, you know, what gets me is that they're all talking about the food is bad. No, the food is not bad.
Right.
We are making the food bad by putting poisons into the food. Okay.
That's right. And on.
Yes, which leads me, and so this is where the obesity comes from. All right, because we produce fat, our bodies, to protect themselves, produce the fat to extract the toxins out of our main system, out of our blood, and they store it up in fat cells. Now, here's the crux to the whole thing. When you exercise, you can dislodge a big chunk of it, and all of a sudden, it's like you've been injected with that poison right now, okay?
Right.
And you're experiencing the symptoms of it, all right? And it could be 5 years later. So you have no correlation to, you know, what's going on symptomatic with you as to where you got it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So anyway, I want to talk a little bit about this new toxin that I started running out as the latest thing, because when we're talking about food, it is actually a pesticide that is being sprayed on our vegetables, on our fruits. And I think the crux of the whole thing is that it just recently started. Now they're saying, let me go back to some of this information I have. This is the pesticide I'm talking about is called Chlorpyrifos. Okay.
How do you spell that?
Chlorpyrifos. And I'm going to post it later underneath the video. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. And so this actually, here's the interesting part about it. It says that it's been going under the name of LORSBAN, okay, spelled LORSBAN. And here's a headline that I picked up off the internet. LORSBAN will be available to use in fruits and vegetables for 2019, which is just recent.
Yeah.
Because Chlorpyrifos, I can never say the name, they say it's been used since 1965 on different stuff, but I don't think they ever used it on actually fruits and vegetables until 2019 sometime.
Right. I see what you mean.
Okay, so here's what some of the stuff says here. So they talk about sold under the trade name LORSBAN, that's the Chlorpyrifos, should be legal to use in fruits and vegetables for 2019. This insecticide is the main or only option for controlling key pests in crops, including apples, asparagus, cabbage, cherries, transplanted onions, peaches, radishes, rutabagas, turnips, etc. They basically put it on everything, okay?
Yep.
Now, it is not the only way to control pests, because you can do agriculture, and I'm not like detailed familiar with it, but you can, certain pests eat other pests. You know, you can grow your crops in such a way, or rotation of crops in such a way that the balance in nature will take care of itself. You don't have to use horrific chemicals like this in order to have, you know, control your pests. That's, again, sold by the big pharma, all these people that make a ton of money of you being sick and whatever else. Okay.
Yeah, it's all the propaganda to buy their poison to keep poisoning ourselves. Exactly.
So also this product is highly toxic to bees exposed to direct treatment or residues on blooming crops and weeds.
Well, that's horrible.
You know how they talk about bees are disappearing? I was wondering also, why are bees disappearing? It's because of pesticides like this.
That's correct.
It's killing our bees.
Yep, that's one reason for sure it is. And that's intentional. And bees are the pollinators. Bees are fundamental to our ecosystem.
Absolutely. It's what creates our balance in our nature and everything. Yeah. And like you say, they pollinate, which means we grow crops with them, right? So yeah. So anyway, where was the thing I was reading about where it came from? This is also very interesting here. Right. So he was on August 9th, 2018, the U.S. Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals ordered EPA to ban Chlorpyrifos within 60 days. Okay.
When was that?
August of 2018.
All right.
Okay. The following month, the Department of Justice requested a rehearing before an en banc panel or something of the court's judges an 11-judge panel, which was granted on February 6th of 2019, effectively vacating the earlier ruling. After hearing oral arguments on March 26th, on April 19, 2019, the court ordered EPA to issue a final decision with respect to the petition objections within 90 days and did not otherwise address the issue raised in that case. So basically they were going to ban it and then nothing happened.
Yeah.
So I wonder why, right? Because what's interesting is the timing of that. Because, you know, the whole thing with COVID happened toward the end of 2019, beginning of 2020.
Correct.
Okay, so right before this, they let this poison out onto our fruits and vegetables, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, which is a neurotoxin. Now, get this, okay? Where's this other info here? Hold on. Oh, here we go. So Chlorpyrifos is a neurotoxic pesticide in the organophosphates class of chemicals that were first developed by the Nazis for chemical warfare.
Can't make this stuff up.
You can if you tried, okay?
Yeah.
So they were killing our enemies with it, or their enemies or whatever, and now
they're feeding it to us.
They're feeding it to us,
yeah.
Okay? In
That's
small
progress.
doses, but remember, you may eat some fruits and not notice anything, but it's accumulating in your body, right? Remember I said how stuff accumulates?
Yep.
All of a sudden you're either detoxing or you're doing exercise and a larger chunk all of a sudden loosens itself. And it's like you just got injected with this shit, all right? In a much higher dose.
Yeah, in other words, you just received a whole new dose, just like it was 5 or 10 years earlier when you were first exposed to this chemical. You're going to re-experience.
5 or 10 years, Gavin. I'm talking the last year and a half that I've been eating this, that I'm now detoxing, that's causing me horrifying symptoms. This is only almost 2 years later.
Right. Just 2 years.
Just 2 years, not even.
Right. Imagine the 5, the 10, the 15, the things that we've been ingesting for our whole lives.
Well, but particularly this one, okay? I mean, other shit is like nothing in comparison to this stuff, all right? Because throughout my time of detoxing, I never detoxed this before. Because I did another major detox in like 17, 18, all that stuff, when I detoxed arsenic out of my system, okay?
Excellent.
I wasn't detoxing any of this stuff out of my system back then.
Right.
So this is just recent, all right, from your fruits and your vegetables, and you think you're being healthy by eating fruits and vegetables? Well, guess again, you're consuming a neurotoxin that from a chemical warfare that's been just loosened on you. It's just like, holy fuck, all right? So.
You make me laugh.
I mean, you can either laugh about this shit or cry. I swear to God, there's like no in between.
Yeah, there's not much in between. It's just extreme emotion.
So here's some other interesting information. Chlorpyrifos is acutely toxic and associated with neurodevelopmental harms in children.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Prenatal exposures to chlorpyrifos are associated with low birth weight, reduced IQ, loss of working memory, attention disorders, and delayed motor development.
Yeah.
Acute poisoning. I'm sorry, go. What?
It would definitely cripple our children if we were giving it to them.
Absolutely, cripple our children. Make them dumb, you know, no IQ, can't move about, you know, motor functions. Acute poisoning.
Stun their development.
Yeah.
Stun their development.
What kind of development?
Slow it down.
Oh, I see. Yeah, yeah.
Stunt their development.
Or stunt. I didn't hear the word stunt. All right. Acute poisoning suppresses the enzyme that regulates nerve impulses in the body and can cause convulsions, respiratory paralysis, and extreme cases, death. Chlorpyrifos is one of the pesticides most often linked to pesticide poisoning. Okay.
Yeah.
Here's another interesting thing. The toxic pesticide harming our children and our environment, right? For half a century, staple food crops in the United States, such as corn, wheat, apples, and citrus, see in wheat, bread, right, have
There
been
it is again.
sprayed with Chlorpyrifos, an organophosphate pesticides that can permanently damage the developing brains of children, causing reduced IQ, loss of memory, and attention deficit disorder.
Yeah.
So that's why they wanted to ban it, right? But somehow, for some reason, that suddenly didn't happen. Okay. Was it a coincidence? I don't think so. You know what's interesting to me that, when you're feeling sick, you're feeling sick. Most people can't tell why they're feeling sick, right?
Right.
This stuff has a similar sort of feeling to it as if you had the flu, for example. So, like, for example, you could think that perhaps you have COVID, right? And have actually this toxin be a problem in your system.
True.
So you could actually easily confuse the symptoms. It's like it was attacking or still is, my lymph nodes. And it feels sort of like a sore throat and goes into your head and eyes. And it's almost like you getting a head cold or something, right?
Yeah.
But it's the toxin actually attacking that, all right? And so very fascinating shit, so with this whole COVID-19 thing, right?
Yeah, it's easy. It sounds like it's easy to confuse the symptoms.
It is. Yeah. So, so how did I figure out where I was running this out, right? Because I do lots of muscle testing. I also don't go to the doctors. I find my own ways of dealing with stuff and getting healthy, right?
Yeah, one thing I love about you.
And thank you, Gavin. And some of this stuff is actually, I think, 5D, because if I really told you what I'm doing, you probably wouldn't believe it. Okay. And and I'm gonna not talk about the details of how I actually do things, how I overcome stuff, because one, it's proprietary information in the sense that I don't want the whole public to know, because I don't want the wrong people to get their hands on this information.
Yeah.
Second is, I want to only divulge it to those people who are ready.
That's right.
For that kind of information, that are high vibration, that really want to know. You're always welcome to come to me, have a session or two, and I'm definitely going to help you with that. All right. And also, I'll be probably teaching certain groups of people on this kind of stuff in the future, but I'm not going to be divulging in public videos what I'm doing. Okay.
Of course. Yeah.
So I just wanted to, let everybody know about that. So, I do a lot of muscle testing on myself in terms of what I'm running out, what my symptoms are all about, and all the good jazz, right? And I noticed from the last toxin I was running out to this one, it was a little bit slightly different. But some of my symptoms here that I have had with this particular toxin is extreme pain. That was very noticeable to me. It's very, very painful. And I think it's because it's acting on your nerves. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's more painful than any other toxins I've run out. It's very painful, and particularly in my hip joint, which is already has problems. And so it's really causing my hip to hurt even more.
Yeah.
And so I had a hard time even like walking properly, even though before with other pain I could walk okay. With this, it's like, holy cow, you can't step on it properly. You start shifting your body. Now my left ankle hurts. I mean, holy cow, right?
Yeah.
And also with it, you can get headaches, you have coordination issues, because again, it disrupts your communication between your nerves, and your nervous system. So your nervous system isn't communicating correctly, which incidentally is what kills the pest, except in this case, you're the pest, okay? Just throw that in there. I can't help my sense of humor sometimes.
The situation, we are the pest.
Well, yeah, we are the pest right now. So you feel very stiff in your body. It's like you can't bend, you can't walk. It's just like, it's really weird, okay? Then it affects the thyroid, the lymph nodes. It also causes disruption in your hormones, basically, as a result of that. It actually reduced my blood cell count of white blood cells and red blood cells. So I think I also had a bacterial infection in my lymph nodes as a result, because it shifts your body out of balance all of a sudden.
Absolutely.
It messes with your cells and things. So also raw tiredness you experience, general inflammation in your body, inflammation of your lymph nodes again, heartburn, you feel a lot of heartburn, affects your whole gut. Also affects your eyes. I noticed a lot of burning your eyes. What?
Burning?
Mm-hmm.
Burning in the eyes?
Yeah. Fogginess. Your eyes are sort of reddish. You can tell that you're not feeling good, right? You have difficulty focusing. You forget thoughts, all of a sudden, So, yeah, it's got all these interesting effects on you. And, I haven't been able to get much done in the last few weeks as a result of these last 2 toxins I was running on. It's like horrific.
Yeah, I remember you sharing the past several weeks, how exhausted and tired you are while detoxing.
Yeah, and so here I am trying to detox, and how I detox, I actually use coffee enemas, which are one of the more effective detox methods, because when you do them on a regular basis, it creates like a vacuum in your body, and it starts pulling stuff out of your tissues. Okay.
Got you.
That's the feeling I get about what actually happens, because I ran the arsenic out of my system that way. And it was actually stuck in my joint quite a bit. So, and I pulled it out of my joints. So yeah, the coffee enemas are really good in terms of trying to pull things out of your body. Now, here's the crux of the thing. So I was detoxing, and I'm like 3 days into it, but my symptoms are like persisting. You would figure that, okay, it would somewhat lessen, right? Especially like the pain and stuff. Mm-hmm. No, not with this stuff. So I did some research. So what I learned is that, in fact, when Chlorpyrifos, your body starts breaking it down, it actually creates another toxin called Chlorpyrifos Oxon. And this Chlorpyrifos Oxon glues itself onto your nerve cells or something like that, disrupting the communication in your nervous system. Okay, and that's how the pests are apparently killed, which are now us. And so, and it doesn't come off. It just permanently attaches itself to your nerve cells. I'm like, holy shit, how are you supposed to get rid of this stuff, right? Which means the, coffee enemas won't pull it out.
Right.
And I'm like, holy crap. And you get enough of this stuff in your body, and it can literally paralyze you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's a scary thought.
It can also affect your lungs and your breathing. It does affect your breathing, because I noticed myself breathing much heavier and stuff throughout this time. All right. Yeah. So it affects all kinds of stuff.
How you breathe. Like, is it making your breathing more shallow, or how is it affecting your
heavier,
breathing?
Like you can't get enough oxygen.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah.
That would suck.
Like you out of breath and you're doing nothing.
Right.
And it seems like you've been doing heavy lifting or something. Yeah.
This is all side effects of this detox, pulling out this specific poison.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So, all that's happening now here. So I do more research, right? So I come across this thing called, where did I put it? They have actually in the medical industry a antidote for this, right?
An antidote?
Yeah. And it's called atropine.
How do you spell it?
ATROPINE. And apparently you're supposed to get it by injection. But the thing is that it's another poison, okay?
Yeah, I was going to say.
So with its own interesting side effects. So I guess now you have a choice between poisons. What do you want to be poisoned with, okay?
Yeah.
Chlorpyrifos or atropine, all right? This is the medical industry's solution to this stuff.
Right. Western medicine. Keeping us sick on the daily. That should be the slogan.
I know. It's like a never-ending fucking cycle, And again, you're going to put that in your body, right? And guess what? You're going to store that up in your body, right?
Yep. True
for
that.
later for it to come loose and you're experiencing the symptoms of it again, right?
It kind of dawned on me right now that, we could say that they put these poisons in here to make us sick. Yeah, I believe that. And now remembering how we store these toxins in our fat system and our fatty tissue, it makes me really believe that they did this intentionally, knowing that we store these poisons in the fatty tissue only for them to come out, 1 year, 2 year, 5 years, 20 years down the road,
Yeah.
and repoison us with a dose as it breaks off the fatty tissue. It's really sick, in my opinion.
It is. It's, if you think about how
it's the more learn.
Yeah, if you think about how this all works, it's pretty obnoxious what they're doing to us. And the thing about it is that 10 years later, you're not going to know where it comes from.
Yeah, you're not even going to know what it is specifically.
Yeah, you're not.
All you're going to know is that you're now poisoned.
And the crux of it is, like hip pain. I had my hip pain start with arsenic poisoning.
Right.
Today, I know that hip pain comes from toxins. It can be a cause of heavy metals. It can be a cause of virus, like the Epstein-Barr virus. I've done that. It can be a cause of candida, and it can be a cause of fungi, and a cause of, pesticide like this, okay, because that caused me a ton of hip pain too, right? Hip pain, it can also be psychosomatic. I've healed somebody's hip pain. That was a past life injury, for example, okay?
Right.
So, but it's never just, you have just arthritis, because, where is the arthritis coming from, right? And the solution in our society is to cut out your hip.
Yes, sad but true.
Okay? Sad but true. So recently I talked to my neighbor over here who said to me, oh yeah, I'm starting to have hip pain. I'm going to have hip surgery. I said, yeah, it's, you probably don't. I mean, that means you have a ton of toxins in your hip,
Yes.
And I told him I have a ton of protocols how to pull all that shit out, right? He goes, on that note, he goes, well, I love surgeries. I've had many of them. I said, well, that's why you have hip pain, okay? I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me, right?
So, by the way, that's why you're having the pain, and since you love surgeries, you're going to keep having the pain. So you
People have no clue.
You keep taking and maintaining your poison.
Just keep going, then they'll cut out every joint out of your body pretty soon.
There you go, buddy.
So my other neighbor, she's 80-year-old lady. She's doing pretty well, but she's had also a number of surgeries and stuff. Kind of arthritis in her hands.
Mm-hmm.
She's having difficulty with her arteries being all, how they get all flacked up with stuff. What is it called? Hardening of arteries, right?
Yeah, arteriosclerosis.
There you go. Yes. It's all from the surgeries, from the toxic shit they pump you full with during surgery.
Wow.
And people don't realize that. It's from that. But she's, the surgeries are fine. They're no big deal, And then she started having some allergy to something recently. I'm like, yep. They're all great, all these surgeries. So, people just need to get wise to the stuff, because of all the stuff that's in their bodies. It's all causing them to be toxic.
Yeah.
And it causes pain in your joints and pain in your body and all kinds of stuff, right? So here's what I figured out then for myself as I'm reading all this stuff, is that it has, it disrupts your enzymes or something like that, or the enzyme function or something like that.
What does?
The Chlorpyrifos.
Okay, that first toxin.
Chlorpyrifos Oxon, that gets created. It disrupts your enzyme. Yeah. So I actually energetically created a very specific enzyme for myself to help me wash off this oxon from the cells.
Excellent.
And actually works like wonders, believe it or not.
I can't wait to hear more.
I mean, you still have to pull it out of your body, right? But, it definitely, the amazing part about it was I was in such a pain that I took something for the pain, like Tylenol or something, and it didn't help anything. And you know what? When I took this energetic enzyme that I created,
right,
it actually relieved the pain.
Excellent.
It was very fascinating.
Did you use distilled water again?
Well, I don't want to talk about exactly the procedure, as I
Yes.
mentioned before, because, yeah, I'm working in very 5D matrix type stuff. Some of you guys may not even believe
Right.
that it works that way, but I don't care. I don't want to divulge it to the public, in other words.
Sure.
Okay. This is
course.
also proprietary. I don't want to give it away to the wrong people, et cetera, et cetera. I'm going to have people sign certain, disclosure agreements on this stuff because, we want to preserve this information for the people that are ready for this. Okay?
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So anyway, I figured out how to do this stuff, luckily. And so I'm in the process of pulling all this stuff out, but it's still, you're going through a painful process nonetheless, right? Because as it's dislodging more, it's running through your system again. It's all that bunch of stuff, right? And it takes time. I mean, it took me to run out arsenic out of my system, which I was drinking water, well water, for about 2 years.
That's right.
That was basically laced with arsenic. And I didn't know it, of course. And it doesn't have a smell to it, doesn't have a look to it, so you don't have any idea, okay?
Right.
Until I started having hip pain about a year into it. Now, what was I going to say? I had something specifically I was going to say, and I forgot what I was going to say.
You were
What was
talking
I just saying right before?
well water. You're drinking well water for 2 years, and that.
Oh, how long it took me to run it out? Yes.
Yeah.
And so the 2 years of arsenic I was drinking took me 11 weeks to run out.
That's not too bad, but nice
Not
job.
too bad, but it's a long time to be running poison through your system, okay?
Yeah. 3 months almost.
Yeah. And it destroyed my immune system on the way out.
Ooh.
Which
What,
took
the
me,
arsenic itself?
the arsenic, yes. Running the arsenic out. Yeah. Destroyed my
Gotcha.
immune system. Because you have to run it through all your organs, right?
Yeah.
And so it's destruction, its path, right? It took me literally up until now, about a year and a half almost, to restore my immune system.
A year and a half.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And how did you do that, with probiotics and stuff?
Well, yeah, that was part of it, probiotics, but there was a lot more to it. I mean, one thing was, for example, like hydrochloric acid. I had very extremely low functioning hydrochloric acid. And
Gotcha.
hydrochloric acid is the stomach acid you produce, right, naturally.
Right.
And if you don't have enough of it, then anything can get into your system, and you have kind of infections all the time. Bacterial infections, viral infections, fungus infections. I mean, any little thing gets in your body and there is no defense. Because your hydrochloric acid is like the #1 defense. When you eat food that has anything on it, it gets destroyed in your gut through the hydrochloric acid.
Yeah.
Well, I was running as low as like 20% production of hydrochloric acid.
Wow.
That is extremely low.
You're not kidding.
And when I first stopped doing the arsenics, or when I first ran out the arsenic, I remember I had bacterial infections constantly. I couldn't get out of it.
You had no immunity left.
I had no immunity left, yes. So the hydrochloric acid was one thing. The other thing is gut bacteria. Of course, it kills all your good bacteria, right? Enzymes and things like that. Also, then I discovered that part of your immune system is your bone marrow producing enough blood cells. Your white blood cells, red blood cells.
Yeah.
And also that got disrupted by arsenic. I also had my bone marrow wasn't producing enough blood cells.
You're telling me your whole system was thrown upside down.
Totally. Okay.
Wow.
My thyroid was affected. The thyroid, I wanted to say, a lot of people have thyroid issues. The reason is toxins. Because your thyroid is a very small, little, very sensitive calibrating machine.
Yes, it
that
is.
Calibrates the hormones in your body.
Yes.
And when, toxins disrupt it very easily. Well, when you disrupt the hormones and all that stuff, your body isn't functioning. You know how many things are run by your hormones? So that's a big issue, right?
Yep. Absolutely.
So I dealt with that. I mean, it was just like, it seemed like never ending thing. On top of it, also, I discovered later that I had contracted at the hospital about 5 or 6 years ago. I had a kidney stone that I needed to remove as a result of arsenic. Because
Wow.
arsenic, because it disrupts your metabolizing abilities of things, right? You start producing kidney stones. That's what happened to me back then.
Right.
And so I had suddenly a kidney stone the size of Mount Everest stuck in my ureter. And I was peeing blood, basically.
So
And
sorry.
yeah, I went to the hospital and they kept me there saying, okay, you have a 12 millimeter kidney stone stuck in your ureter.
Wow.
And yeah. And so
Big.
I didn't know any better back then about kidney stones. I never had a kidney stone before. That was my first kidney stone. So their procedure was to go in up inside me with a camera and a laser. Of course, they put you completely under with full anesthesia and all that stuff. So I went through their process. Of course, they had to do it twice because they didn't get it the first time. I'm like, holy fuck, right? Then they give me this Cipro antibiotic, which destroys your entire immune system again. Okay. Then on top of that, okay, I found this out years later. I contracted the Epstein-Barr virus there. I contracted some kind of Candida parapsilosis blood infection, which that's the kind of Candida that doesn't even live inside of you. Okay. Then I contracted some kind of a fungus that was a crop fungus. Okay. And a crop fungus, yeah, that grows on crops.
Wow.
And they even say on the internet when I did research that you can either breathe it in if it's on the crop or something, or you can actually contract it at the hospital on their equipment. I'm like, how the hell does crop fungus get on the equipment in the hospital?
Yeah, that's my question. How does this
I don't know. I'm like, holy cow. And then on top of it, I also contracted some kind of a spiritual entity that was attached to my hip pain after I got out of the hospital. I was a mess when I got out of the hospital. They finally removed my kidney stone, but they gave me, 100 other things. So, I mean, I swear to God, if you never have to go to the hospital, don't go. You're going to be living till 120, okay? Otherwise, you may die at 50.
Yeah, if you spend a lot of time in the hospital is what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, if you can stay away from doctors and hospitals, you'll be so much better off.
But at least Western medicine.
Well, yeah,
they largely don't know what they're doing.
Well,
they are shooting from the hip.
Well, they're being educated by the pharmaceuticals. The doctors don't know anything these days.
Yeah.
Okay, except how to prescribe a pill or how to do surgery on you. I don't know if this is still true today, but for a while it was a fad to take out everybody's gallbladders. I'm like, why are you having a gallbladder always taken? Everybody's having gallbladders taken out. I'm like, holy fuck, right? I had gallbladder stones too that was created by the arsenic. So gallbladder stones can be also because you're toxic.
Sure.
But they don't tell you that. No, they're going to pump you full of toxins and then take your, organ out. Okay. Just like they do with your hip. Okay. Your hip hurts. Okay. Well, we'll take your hip out and give you more toxins. That's their solution to everything these days. Oh, we'll take your gallbladder because you're too toxic, because you can't metabolize things. And now we're going to pump you full of toxins again. And so you're constantly, exposed to more toxins. Oh, you have a pain over here. Here's some medication, more toxin.
Yeah.
Oh, you have allergies, which incidentally comes from what? Toxins, right?
Toxins.
Okay. So what do they give you for allergies? More medication, more toxins.
Yeah.
I mean, do you get this?
I get this. That's why we're talking about it.
I mean, every freaking disease today
sick system
is caused by toxins. I swear to God.
I believe you. It fits my paradigm.
You're good. So anyway, to complete this whole thing, I'm going to read some more stuff about the Chlorpyrifos here.
Please. Teach me more.
So what happens to Chlorpyrifos when it enters the body, right? So Chlorpyrifos moves to all parts of the body after exposure. They say here Chlorpyrifos itself is not toxic. Well, I don't know how true that is, but when the body tries to break it down, it creates a toxic form, which is the Oxon I was telling you about. This toxic form called Chlorpyrifos Oxon binds permanently to enzymes. It binds permanently, right, to enzymes, which control the messages that travel between nerve cells. When Chlorpyrifos binds to too many of the enzymes, nerves and muscles do not function correctly, okay? The body then must make more enzymes so that normal nerve function can resume. The body can break down, excrete most of the unbound Chlorpyrifos in feces and urine within a few days. However, like I said, some of it gets extracted in your fat cells again, right? Chlorpyrifos that finds its way into the nervous system may stay there longer. Well, you know, with this whole thing where the body extracts the toxins and puts it into fat cells, you can have stuff in there for 10 years and more.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It just sits there.
I did a detox. This whole sauna detox I did back in 2006. All right. It wasn't regular sauna. It was a very monitored program with very high doses of vitamins to push out these toxins out of your fat cells and move them out of your body. And,
Cool.
They have to monitor you, make sure you're okay, right? Because not every toxin is easy to run out.
Right.
And some of it actually can be dangerous too, to run out. Like I say, I mean, destroyed my immune system by running out arsenic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, and so I was going to say that during that program, I ran out a medication that was given to me as a, I don't know, 1 or 2 year old child.
Really?
During I had rheumatic fever.
Wow.
And I didn't remember back then, but I asked my mom, I said, Mom, did they give me any kind of medication for the rheumatic fever? And she goes, yeah, you were at the hospital. I said, wow, really? And I recognized the symptom because what happens is when it gets dislodged out of your fat cells and goes back into your system, into your bloodstream, it turns on your symptoms that are associated with it. All right,
Wow.
because your subconscious mind associates things together.
Did you remember as an adult the symptoms that you felt when you first got it when you were 2?
Yeah, I felt like my legs were aching.
Glad your eggs aren't aching.
I know, I'm glad my eggs are. Talk about Easter, right?
Oh, you're funny.
My legs were aching, and I remember that aching legs syndrome I had.
Wow.
Yeah, it was weird. And go ahead.
I was gonna say, I'm glad that you shared with me how you remember that, because I was gonna ask, did you remember when you were 1 or 2 years old? But you asked your mother, and she told you that when you were a kid, you received this.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Because it turns on your symptoms that are associated with the medication, right? So that's how you recognize usually when it happened, when you got the stuff in. It's the same, like, for example, during the sauna program, I was running out suddenly an over-the-counter medication I was taking for a cold. Those NyQuil, DayQuil things they give you?
Mm-hmm.
And I was running it out. It was only recent. It was like only months later, after I had this horrific cold for like 2 months, I was running suddenly that stuff out of it was still in my system, right?
Wow.
And guess what it turned on? It turned on the same cold I had during during the time I was taking the medication.
Yep, of course.
All right, so all of a sudden I had this cold and all the cold symptoms that went along with it. Except now I couldn't take it because I was trying to run it out, right? So I had to suffer through all the symptoms. I mean, it's the most bizarre thing when you do a program like that, because you really recognize what it takes to move something back out of your system. It's usually much easier when you put it in than it is to try to back it back out.
For
right?
Sure.
So it's an interesting thing, but yeah, you basically, in your subconscious mind, it gets all associated with the symptom,
Yeah.
so that when the substance itself, you know, points to that symptom, and all of a sudden you turn on that symptom, your body reacts, you know, to it.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, you know, stuff. So anyway, I want to just read real quick here because we're running like out of time here, but
Yeah, a few more minutes.
Yeah. So here's some of the things to talk about that disrupt. So Chlorpyrifos is a broad spectrum chlorinated organophosphate pesticide used to control a variety of insects and pathogens in crops, fruits, vegetables, as well as household and various other locations. The toxicity of Chlorpyrifos has been associated with neurological dysfunctions, endocrine disruption, and cardiovascular disease. So some of your neurological dysfunctions can be a headache, loss and feeling of tingling, weakness and loss of muscle strength, loss of sight and double vision. See, it affects your eyes. Memory loss, impaired mental ability, lack of coordination. You know, the endocrine disruptors, it's like many chemicals, both natural and man-made, may mimic or interfere with body's hormones, known as the endocrine system, called endocrine disruptors. These chemicals are linked with developmental and reproductive, brain, immune, and other problems.
Wow.
Or cardiovascular disease, heart attack, or myocardial infarction, usually tops the list of cardiovascular diseases in the United States. Stroke, heart failure, arrhythmia, heart valve complications, and so forth and so forth. It can also cause inflammation in the body, of course, right? Here also they talk about lymph nodes that attacks bone marrow and lymph nodes. Okay, there you go, my lymph nodes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Bone marrow nodes.
Yeah, your immune system. The most significant detriment the immune system faces when the body has a high toxic load is a chronic but low-grade inflammation that often goes undetected. It will quietly simmer beneath the surface, creating confusion among the signals the immune system needs to function. All right. You know how many autoimmune system diseases we have today? All toxin shit. Okay. All toxin shit. All right. Now, here are some of the foods that this shit is on now since 2019, I guess. I printed a whole list of foods with Chlorpyrifos residue. Apples, bell peppers, cranberries, greens, kale, cilantro, asparagus, hot peppers, peaches, almonds, cucumbers, nectarines, pears, catfish. I don't know how it gets on catfish, but broccoli, corn grain, spinach, frozen, tomatoes, spinach, plums, green onions, asparagus canned, sweet potatoes, strawberries, green beans. I mean, it's on freaking everything.
Yeah, maybe you can put that list, you know, add it to the information after we get the video up.
You can, you know, just pull it up online. I'm just gonna put the main names underneath the video, and you guys can check it out yourself.
Yeah.
Do research on it, you know.
Well, yeah.
You can just ask, you know, foods with that I used, that Chlorpyrifos is used on. Get a list of it.
Thank you for sharing all this information. I found it fascinating and definitely taught me a few things, Dagmar. I appreciate you.
Great. What did it teach you? What sort of stuff did you learn?
Well, specifically about what you just said, I found fascinating how it creates confusion in communication between cells and to keep things healthy. It makes sense to me that there's almost like a drug haze when we are poisoned.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
So, yeah, so it just kind of clicked for me that way.
Cool.
And then, of course, the fact that it attacks, you know, most of our systems, including the endocrine glands and lymph nodes.
Yeah. And the cardiovascular stuff, breathing, you know, I mean, basically everything, you know.
Yeah.
It's absolutely horrific. And the biggest part for me has been the pain. The pain was actually excruciating from this stuff. And this
And
is when I'm apparently running according to my muscle testing, I have only like 1/8 of a percentage left in my whole body. So this
wow.
is a very minute piece left anymore in me. Okay.
Yeah.
Not like anything large, and it's still causing me horrendous problems.
Right.
So yeah, it's very, very toxic stuff. So we can actually, I mean, I just want people to be aware, because this is in your food. You're thinking you're eating healthy. I mean, I had this thought, gosh, we always talk about junk food. Well, I think with this stuff on your vegetables, you're actually better off eating junk food right now. Seriously.
Yeah, it's a scary reality. And I
Yeah.
think you're right. For sure.
And don't exercise or try to detox, because that shit's going to hit you like an injection.
Bricks.
Seriously. Okay.
And they hit you like a ton of bricks.
I know. So, fun set aside, I mean, there's truth to all that.
Yeah.
And, we can try to see if we could ban this. I personally will be working on some 5D stuff to try to see if I can figure out some way of protecting the system.
Okay.
Body
I like that.
from this stuff.
Yeah.
Because this is absolutely horrendous. I am so sick and tired of being poisoned in America, because it started out with my knee surgery back in 2001, and I've been continuously poisoned by something throughout, and it's been just absolutely a freaking nightmare.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
so anyway,
I think it was vital for us to talk about this, just bring it to everyone's attention.
Yeah.
How common and how pervasive it is, how we're being poisoned in all these different ways, but particularly when we go to our current Western medical system, they use straight up man-made synthetic toxins. They have some positive effects in the here and now, and that just takes care of the symptoms, but it never addresses the origin. Right. And sometimes it perpetuates the problem itself.
Exactly. Because all they're going to do is give you another toxin on top of the one you already have.
Right. So that's where we're engulfed and completely saturated and smothered in toxin.
And if you don't like that, then they're going to start dismantling you part by part. I mean, seriously.
Right. Get you a new hip, get you a new shoulder. Right, absolutely.
New gallbladder or no gallbladder at all. You can live without one. Yeah.
There's so many back surgeries. Oh boy. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I hope it was enlightening for everybody. So our hour is up. We'll be back next Saturday live. Hope you enjoyed it, whoever watched it, and hope you got something out of this. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you later, you guys. Bye.